Welcome to the Jet Enterprise Report Design Primer. In this demonstration, you will learn how to structure dimensions and values into a meaningful report. You will be able to provide report filters, column filters, and row filters to fine-tune reported values. You will also learn how to save, share, and as an option, securely send a report by converting it to PDF. Let's imagine the following scenario. Neil Harmon is a regional manager. Neil would like to see a route profit report. He would like to see customers, grouped by his territory managers, grouped by regional manager, grouped by route. He would like to see sales amount and gross profit for these customers. Finally, he wants to filter his results to only show him the previous week's information. This sort of collective information can be a large task if we were trying to retrieve it from Microsoft Dynamics and AV. That report would be really slow and would require developers to create a solution. What if we wanted to create the report ourselves? What if we wanted it fast and flexible? This is where Jet Enterprise comes in. Jet Enterprise is designed specifically to pull aggregate information into quick, manageable reports. To begin, open Microsoft Excel. Jet Enterprise reports are built entirely in Microsoft Excel using pivot tables. Once Excel is open and we have a new sheet, click the Insert ribbon, click Pivot Table, and from the dialog, click Use an external data source. Click Choose Connection. From Connection Files on this computer, select the data source that relates to the Jet data cubes. This may be called HWCube, Harbor, or a similar name. After clicking Open, you will be presented with several cubes. A cube is a functional area of metrics. Select the appropriate cube for your report. If you aren't sure which to choose, you may experiment by creating a report and exploring its offerings. Create additional reports until you find the appropriate cube. For this report, we are interested in customers and sales data, but most importantly, we want to review margin data. As a result, we will choose Margin Analysis. The pivot table tools are displayed to the right of the Excel window. The top pane lists available values, marked with the sigma symbol, and dimensions. Note that the dimensions are listed in alphabetical order. The bottom pane allows us to organize data to build filters, columns, rows, and values. To add information to the bottom panes, you can either select their checkboxes or drag the data in. To reorder the information, drag each piece between panes or drag them into the proper order. To remove information, drag the information out from the panes. Now that we know the basics, let's review what we need for our route profit report. We want to see Sell To customers grouped by territory managers, grouped by regional manager, grouped by route. This information will be our row data. We will begin at the top and work down. Select route from the list of dimensions. Excel will add the information as a row. From the Sell To customer dimension, select regional manager, territory manager, and customer. Notice how the report has grouped our information. We can expand each section to see the information within each grouping. Before continuing, there is a better way to choose our data. Notice the selection for Customer by Territory Manager by Regional Manager. We have identified common, logical groupings that users will regularly need. We organize this data into predefined selections known as hierarchies. Let's replace our previously selected fields and see what happens. Notice that the report is virtually identical, but there's two key benefits to this setup. First, it reduces work for us. We only need to make one selection to get everything we need. Secondly, these predefined groupings increase the speed of our report. You may have noticed that when we added the customer dimension before, there was a slight hesitation in the report. When we added the hierarchy, the result was instantaneous. Now, let's add values to our report. We want to see sales amounts and gross profit. From the listing of values, select sales amount and margin GL. Let's add date information. Find the posting date dimension. Notice we can select individual dimensions or select a hierarchy. For the greatest flexibility, we are going to select date, year, quarter, month, date. At this point, we will want to add some basic filtering. Let's say we want to have control over what types of items and what vendors we are viewing. From the item dimension, drag Inventory Posting Group to the Report Filter pane. From the vendor dimension, drag Vendor to the Report Filter pane. The filters appear at the top of the report. At this point, we have built all the raw information into our report. Let's hide the field list so we can see more area. To do this, click the Pivot Table Tools ribbon, then click the Field List button. We can always bring back the list by clicking the button again. Now, let's fine-tune our presentation. First, let's make use of our filters. Let's begin with a demonstration of how filters work for us. We'll use the filters we added at the top of the report to analyze how to manipulate what we see. From the vendor filter, select Craft Grocery. Notice how our data updates in response. Let's further limit the report by candy and food service sales. Go to the Inventory Posting Group filter and check the Select Multiple Items box. Uncheck All Item, check Candy and Food Service, then click OK. When we apply a filter, notice how the icon changes to signify a filter is active. Let's reset those filters for now. We can use them at a later time. Now that we understand how to do some basic filtering, let's look at column cleanup. Notice that we can expand date information to see greater detail. However, it can get messy. By default, Excel provides subtotals for each column dimension. You can see how we are displaying subtotals for year and quarter. We only want to see grand totaling, however, so in order to hide the unwanted data, we will need to right-click on the subtotaling columns and choose to hide the subtotals. Now that we understand how to clean up columns and perform some basic filtering, let's put our knowledge to use. Note for the purposes of the video, all the filters have been reset. Let's begin filtering the date columns. Click the Action button next to the column labels cell. In the bottom section, we can select individual dates or groups of dates. We can also go to the Date Filters section, where we have some helpful options as well. Let's filter by last week's data. Now that columns are done, let's filter our row information. Let's filter down to our regional manager, Neil Harmon. Click the Action button next to the row label cell. In the Select field box, select Regional Manager. Making this selection is very important because it tells Excel what row level dimension we are applying the filter to. Select Neil from the list and click OK. Notice how the report changes to provide information that only applies to Neil. Perhaps Neil is interested in finding routes where his sales are under a certain amount, such as $1,500. Click the Action button next to the row label cell. In the Select field box, select Route. Go to Value Filters, Less Than. In the dialog, confirm we are filtering by sales amount, then type 1,500 and press OK. It can be very confusing how to properly set a value filter. Let's take a moment to discuss the different options we could take and what the results of each choice would be. Before we begin, let's undo the filters for sales amount and date. We'll keep the filter for Neil Harmon. Now, let's see what would happen if we tried setting the $1,500 filter on our columns. As a hint, pay special attention to the Select Field box. Why did all of our data disappear? Let's remove the filter and take a look. Did you remember what the Select Field box said? It said year. That means we were setting a filter for total yearly sales under $1,500. If we look at the totals for the year, we can see that the totals are much greater than 1,500. Let's reset our year filter. Now we know that our value filter is dependent on the dimension. We are filtering sales by route. Route is displayed as a row. Therefore, we need to click the Row Labels Action button and pay attention to the Select Field button. Remember, it tells us what we are filtering. As an aid in filtering, you can see what filters are active by hovering over either of the action buttons. At this point, our report is complete, and we can save it. Since Jet Enterprise reports are Excel documents, there's nothing additional needed. Several days have passed since Neil saved his report, and he'd like to see new information. When the document first loads, the information may not be up to date. It is important to get the latest information by performing a refresh. Click somewhere within the pivot table, then click on the Pivot Table Tools ribbon. Click on the Refresh button. After a few seconds of fetching data, the report is refreshed. Let's suppose this information needs to be sent to another employee or maybe someone with less permission than ourselves. When we do this, we need to be careful about what information is displayed. Since this is an Excel document, it's possible for the user to manipulate the data. To reduce data leaks, it's a good idea to convert the report to a PDF file. Contact the support desk to learn how to do this. Let's review. In this demonstration, we learned that Jet Enterprise can be a quick tool to create reports with large amounts of aggregate data, and that we have powerful filtering capabilities. We learned how we can retrieve data quickly and how we can refresh that data. We learned that saving our work is identical to saving any other Excel document, and learned how to securely send the report by converting it to PDF. From here, you can begin creating your own reports. If you're not already set up, contact the support desk. We can get your software configured in about 15 minutes. Additional time may be needed if you do not have permissions configured. Thank you for watching, and we hope you enjoyed Jet Enterprise reporting.